Welcome in, Regan's Corner sports fans. Welcome, Satellite sports fans. Satellite Sunday. What a great way to kick it off with Mr. Bradley Ferrell. Okay, Bradley, tell us what's new, what's good, what's popping.
I just got done playing around a golf and going out to eat for a friend's birthday. So that's all that I've been doing all day today.
Absolutely. Sounds fun. Sounds fun. How did you start in the game of baseball?
The game of baseball. Well, I started probably. I picked up a bat when I was about 3 or 4. My dad got me into it when I was younger. He was the main reason why I started playing because I'd hear stories from my grandparents and my mom and him about how he played back in high school and college. So I started at a young age, and then I pretty much took it and ran with it. I mean, I fell in love with it early. I'm still in love with it. It's my first love, and it probably I don't know if I'll ever unlove the game. I'm around it so much.
Absolutely. So, kind of talking about the Little League scene here in LaPorte, when it's one of the most historic sports venues in Northwest Indiana. So, kind of what was the competition like in Babe Ruth?
I actually didn't play Babe Ruth, so I played travel baseball at a young age. I started at 9. I played with a bunch of kids who went to the same school. And we were almost a feeder for LaPorte High School until I was 12. We played together. So that was pretty cool. I was playing with a bunch of people that my dad played high school or with who are a little bit older on the state teams.
Nice. So, kind of what is the travel ball scene here in Indiana since you kind of from a young age to now currently?
I think Indiana has some of the best baseball you'll find in the country. A lot of people snub Indiana just because it's a Midwest state. At a young age, I just remember there being a lot of teams from like out of state playing in Indiana, but no teams were as good as the Indiana teams when we were younger. They're a lot more polished and a lot more, I want to say, well put together. That's the phrase I'm looking for. Well put together, especially at a young age. They looked clean. They looked polished at a young age.
Absolutely. So, what was kind of one of the factors that landed you here at South Central?
Yeah. So, um, my 8th grade year was that COVID hit, obviously, but before that, I just didn't really like the aspect of school because Laporte Middle School used to be Boston and Kessling. They used to separate them out by like what school district you were in, and so they took them, they combined them together to make Laporte High School, and it wasn't a good feel for me. It was too big. I didn't like all because we had to wear name tags everywhere. The teachers didn't know who some kids were. They had to make sure you were a student. So I didn't like that feel at all. So I ended up going out to South Central because I love the small school feel. So I like it's so much better. I mean, everybody's close with everybody. I mean, that can be a bad thing in certain aspects, but I really like it. I think it's good for everything.
Absolutely. Was it kind of when you came here, did you kind of just okay, let's go, especially since that first kind of basketball season, to kind of get to know everybody, and then
Yeah.
did the basketball season actually help you into baseball that following year?
Yeah, it did. I mean, relationship wise, big time. You know, I had known some kids just from recent experience. I actually played with a few kids outside of with travel ball. I played against them in certain tournaments around here. But building relationships, basketball really helped me with, and it led into baseball, and then it led into what is now life. Probably I have friends for life now.
Absolutely. I love the small town feel. I grew up here. Uh, Proud to be a satellite as myself. So that first year pitching as a freshman, starting on varsity, kind of getting into what's going to come later as your sophomore year, and then the showcases that you're going to pitch in this off season. What's our kind of start and stops that you kind of learned in that freshman kind of area, the freshman year?
Yeah, so freshman year, it was interesting. You know, it was a different school, different field, not a lot of kids I played with. So I mean, taking on some of the bigger schools like pitching against your Plymouths or your New Prairies, I wasn't as shell shocked because I grew up playing against some of those kids, whereas other kids on the team may have thought, it's a bigger school. So that was kind of my mindset going into it. But I did think I had a little bit too big a head sometimes because being a freshman going to a smaller school, you will think that. But I got leveled pretty quickly, playing some smaller schools that were good at baseball. But after I kind of like said, okay, these guys are good no matter where you go, and you kind of got to play at your highest level all the time. That's when it really took off, and I started excelling.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you just said that, especially that Washington Township team that won state.
hmm
So what was it like pitching against them multiple times?
It was interesting, pretty much playing all 18-year-olds as a 15-year-old was it was interesting. It was fun though, because it only made me better. I mean, I don't like to take things like losses or bad outings as failure. I want to take it as like kind of a teaching moment on what I need to get better at. And that just happened to be a teaching moment, that PCC championship game freshman year.
Absolutely. We saw that with your sophomore year against Boone Grove. Okay. You had a nice little Chapman moment there. Okay. Struggling a little bit. And then you posed yourself and then you won the ball game.
hmm
Okay. With your bat and with your, uh, when you're on the mound. So, what are some aspects and some pitches when you're in trouble that you go to?
I really right now my curveball is my baby. I really like to go to it when I'm in trouble. I got a great feel for it. I'm starting to get better with fastball command. Fastball command was a bit iffy during the season, but it has gotten a lot better over the summer. And then I really like throwing my changeups too early. I think a lot of people don't sit on them; they sit on fastballs. So you like to throw off timing a little bit there. And then I'm starting to develop a little bit of a slider. Um, just picking it up by the way my pitches move. I'm trying to get around it and make sure I keep guys off balance with a different look.
Absolutely. Kind of talking about that corner, like kind of like Bauer talked about on TikTok and stuff like that, and just trying to locate stuff. So, what are some techniques and some training here in the off season that can help you control that 95-mile-an-hour fastball that's going to be deadly this year as a junior?
Well, I think strength is a big thing, because just filling out more than anything. I think being able to control my body can help me control my pitches. And then I'm going to do a lot of towel drills. Towel drills are one of the main things I do. It's basically like going through my motion without actually throwing the ball and putting stress on my arm. So I do a lot of that to make sure my mechanics are pretty crisp and ready for season during the off season.
Absolutely. So, what was the recruitment process like with Kentucky, and kind of how did all that kind of develop?
So, my freshman year, when we had our little COVID break during basketball, when Coach Wagner got COVID, I ended up going down in December to throw at a showcase in Fort Myers, Florida, and I touched 84. I threw all four of my pitches for strikes, and they were the first school I talked to in the hotel room the night after I threw. And I ended up talking to another school that night, which they were one of my big considerations too for school. But they stayed on the horn with me through the rest of my freshman year and then all the way through my sophomore year. Um, and so that December, after my freshman year summer, going into sophomore year, I went back down to the same showcase and I ended up hitting 92. And they were one of, I think, 9 or 10 schools that called me that night, but they made sure that they did a good job and they stayed on the horn with me the whole time to where I didn't talk to many other schools. And they made the decision really easy to go to Kentucky.
Absolutely. So, have you stepped on Kentucky's campus yet?
I have. I am going on my unofficial, I think on the September 18th or 17th, one of those two dates. But I have been to the campus. I went to the campus before I verbally committed and then once after.
Nice. So, how do you like it down there in Lexington?
Lexington is one of those towns where I think the school kind of revolves around the town. It's one of those it's a very home feel, good hospitality down there, and everybody is just very cool down there. I don't think I met a person I disliked down there, whether it was at a restaurant, it was a waiter, or it was somebody you bumped into at a store. It was just the people down there are different. It's just a different culture down there, and I really like it.
Absolutely. It seems like you kind of like that small town kind of feel, that kind of
Yeah,
closeness and stuff like
yeah.
that. A lot of athletes I've talked to, even numerous, like Brooks Cozet from Notre Dame, he talked about soon as he stepped on campus, he knew Notre Dame was for him. It sounds like same thing with you with Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of going into here in your junior year. So what are some goals you want to touch?
Some goals, personal goals. I'd like to keep my ERA under a 0.75. I think I did a pretty good job of that at through most of the year. Towards the end, a little bit got a little rocky, but I'd like to keep it pretty close, if not under a 0.75. I'd like to get my walks down tremendously. I think I had a little too many. I wanted to keep that probably under 20 to 25 in that under that. And then I want to pitch to contact quite a bit more. I feel like I went too deep in pitch counts. I like for people to hit my pitches. And then for team goals, depending what happens with the class baseball, because we have been told by certain people that we might move up to 2A. If we move up to 2A, I'd like to see if we could make a run at a regional title again for 2A. I think that'd be a good goal for us. If not, we stay 1A. I think we can go to state this year with our pitching staff. Us having kids who have played, varsity baseball since freshman year, and your Braden Grasses, your Tommy Sullivans, your Zach Hanchars, those guys, having those guys still here and being polished through those 3 years, I think we have a good chance at making another run this year.
I think you have another chance doing it if you go up to Class 2 ball, to be honest with you, with an absolute stud junior class coming up. You just mentioned all of the juniors and stuff like that. You got a couple occasional key seniors coming up, maybe one or two, and then you got the bottom classes that are not as polished as the junior class coming in, but they're still great for 1A ball and stuff like that. So you got depth big time coming up. I'm excited of calling your guys' games again, to be honest with you. But anyway, okay. If you guys stay, okay, in 1A, who do you think is the biggest factor on not winning a state championship this year? The biggest team that would be in the regional or semi-state?
Through that sectional and sectional, we really didn't have any problems through the sectional. The regional game, our pitching was what was going to win us that game. That first game, we planned on out hitting that Caston team, which we ended up doing late. And then our pitching, we pretty much relied on against that. What team do we play? I forget the high school, but they were 2A. They moved down to 1A. But we took care of them pretty good. They ended up throwing their one against Morgan. But our regional wasn't too difficult for us either. That semi-state game, that one was in our grasp. I think we could have won that game too, pretty easy. But I really don't think there's a team when we play right and we play smart baseball and our chemistry's on. I mean, everything's rolling right. I don't think there's a team in 1A that can beat us.
I don't either. I think if you guys play your A game, it's kind of hard, especially if you're starting in semi-state or if grass is locating. I jokingly call Brandon the rooster because he's so tenacious on that mound. But you guys got a great 1-2 punch. So are you guys going back to back in the PCC?
Oh, for sure. I think we have a great chance at it this year too.
Absolutely. So what was it like winning that first PCC championship?
Oh, I get goosebumps when you just mention it. It was one of those moments where it was like, wow, like we are the first group to ever do this, and it was such a tight game, a tense game. And for Jacob to step up in that moment, that was so cool for us. And that was one of the memories I don't think I'll ever forget through my whole life, honestly.
Yes. It's a shocking stat seeing how great the teams were at South Central throughout its history for you guys to be the first team to ever win the PCC. To be honest with you, and way you guys are set up, you might have a three-peat in that situation.
Mm.
It's very similar to the Washington Township kind of Senators when they won the state and stuff like that, where you guys just have depth all galore.
Mm-hmm.
and softball was about that same way. Back to back to back to back. You know what I'm saying? Back
Yeah.
to back. But on Regan's Corner, we have the segment, the close off, kind of get to know you a little bit more. So it's called the Hot Corner. So I'm going to rapid questions here. What is your go-to sports movie?
Go-to sports movie, Major League 2.
Nice. Okay. So what is your go-to meal?
My go-to meal? Oh, go-to meal probably right now is 2 chicken sandwiches out of the air fryer, 2 chicken patties in the air fryer, throw pickles and mayonnaise on it. Every day I think I eat that.
Nice. Can't be a good chicken sandwich. Okay. So let's see. Okay. If a actor would play you in a movie, what actor would it be?
Do I want to play me? Will Ferrell. I think for the last name piece, I think that'd be very cool.
I think so too. So, what is your walk-up song for this year?
Oh, I've already been debating. I have a handful on mine. I'm trying to narrow down. I think the beginning is Stronger by Kanye West could be cool. A Millie by Lil Wayne, or I was thinking about using a Taylor Swift song. I can't remember the name, but I'm trying to be a little flamboyant still this year with my walk-up song.
Absolutely. So, what are some aspects of pitching that you love and some aspects of pitching you dislike?
I don't know if I can name anything I dislike on the mound. I think I love everything on the mound. I mean, you control the pace of the game. Yeah, I mean, it runs on your time. I love being, I don't want to say, I mean, I do like controlling the pace of the game. I'm gonna be honest. I do. I like being that guy who controls the tempo. I like being the guy that gets it done on defense too. Because I mean, you got to rely all on your defense most part in certain games because you might have another good pitcher on the mound. But I like going out and competing too. Competing is another big aspect for me. I love being able to be myself on the mound too. You know, defense, you don't get a ball every time, so you can't show everything you got on the mound. I can show everything I got in my bag too.
Okay. So, which one do you like more, closing or starting?
This summer has brought me to be a starter. I like being on the mound, starting on the mound. But during high school this last season, I really like coming in and slamming the door. That was my personal favorite. During PCC week, that was fun. And then against your skirt schools like Plymouth, that was a fun game to close too. But I really enjoy starting now. Throughout the summer, I've learned to be a starter and control my pace of pitching instead of just going hard all the time.
Absolutely. Okay. So, what is kind of the mental aspect of the game of baseball?
Mental aspects. So I personally think this is the most mentally tough sport. It's going to take a lot out of you mentally. You're going to fail more than you succeed in this sport. You know, hitting, there's a statistic where big leaguers fail every 7 out of 10 times. So they get on base or they get hits every like 3 out of 10 at bats. So you're gonna go through a lot of failure, but it's also kind of a game of life. You're gonna fail more than you succeed in life. It's just how you're gonna failures. You're gonna see, like, are you gonna come back from the failure or gonna quit? You know, are you gonna work at it or are you just gonna let it be? You know, it's just kind of one of those things where I think the mental aspect helped me grow as a person too, not just as a player.
Absolutely. So, good. It's always good to have you on here. I'm Bradley. Hopefully, we have you here on more and more and have you on media day for baseball and softball pretty soon. And as always, stay Irish, stay satellites, my friend. Okay. And stay froggy. And please subscribe to Regan's Corner Sports Network.